Aaron Shaver.
Lord Quick.
How are you doing?
Good.
I'm great. How are things up north? This is, you're in the time of year that it's sort of tolerable to live up in your.
Yeah, you can see I've gotten rid of some of my extreme paleness. Yep, I went outside the other day. It was nice.
And this is your summer beard.
It is. It's much less. It's like more. It's trimmed very short, and I'll grow a big long one in the winter.
I absolutely can't wait.
I know you love it. I made the mistake of going for a bike ride this week.
Oh yeah.
Broke my phone while I was doing it.
It was really fun. That is the absolute worst.
So that will be my one bike ride this year.
That'll teach you.
I inflate my tires once a year and then go for a bike ride and then put it back.
Well, did you persist? Did you continue with your bike ride after that?
Actually broke the phone at the very end of the
bike. Boy. So yeah, you did do the bike ride.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
It was really nice. It was my Midwest excitement for this week.
Yeah. Well, you enjoyed the 1 month a year. You can do that.
That's right. Next month it's frostbite. I just learned today that you have a birthday coming up.
I do. We have to be careful here, though. My real birthday's coming up, and I don't talk about that. But
secret.
It is secret. My internet birthday already happened. That was back on July 1st.
Gotcha.
That's the date. That's the date I tell.
Maybe I'll sing happy birthday in the extra here too.
That sounds good. Well, I control the mute, so whatever. Give it a go. Well, hey, let's rock this thing. We're talk about Google Chronicle.
Love me some Google Chronicle
today, I think. So here we go. Hit me with some Google Chronicle.
Yeah, I got to convince you today. This is going to be a hard sell because you're like Mr. Security Operations himself.
I have some thoughts about SIEMs.
And so I've really got my work cut out for me.
Products and SIEM accessories and whatnot.
I think you're more of a SIEM guy than I am, but I might be a little bit more of a data nerd than you are. But we'll see.
That's fair. I wouldn't have thought about that, but I could see how Chronicle sort of merges your data nerd.
My passion for data is what intrigues me about Chronicle. So
cool. Well, lay it on me.
Well, all right. So I'm going to dig into. I actually have a demo set up for you, which was incredibly hard. It took me 2.5 months of work with Google to get a demo of this product set up. And I'll explain why in a minute. But essentially, Chronicle is the SIEM that Google uses for all of Google. And they have turned it into a product that you can, a consumer product now. And as they do, they build unique widgets for themselves and then at some points make it accessible to those of us who are not.
To us mere mortals.
To us mortals. Yeah, yes. So I was super interested in it. I do a lot of work in Google and BigQuery and Data Studio. And, one day, Google Chronicle popped up in my console. And like a really good doobie, I was like, well, I got to click on that. So I dove into it. In every other Google product that I have, you just hit enable API and then you start using it. And this said contact sales. I was like, what? I don't know. No, this does not sound right to me. And
sounds very un-Google.
So I hit the contact sales and was promptly ignored by everyone at Google. And so I called one of my former coworkers who is now a security pre-sales engineer at Google and was like, bro, what's up, dude? Why is this so hard to get a hold of? And he was like, big sigh, and said, let me see if I can get somebody that will be willing to talk to you about this. And so that took about a month. And then we got a super awesome dude on the phone. I won't mention any names here, from Google. And he was like, we're so sorry. This
maybe is his intern name Bob, let's say.
Sure. So I talked to Bob, and he was like, we are so sorry, but the demand for this product is so incredible right now. We can't respond to people. And so basically, unless you're, have like an enterprise Google account rep and have, like you're just like a big giant whale to Google that they want, like there's kind of like maybe, so that was my problem that I
unless you're already inside the family.
Yeah, unless right. Or when they have like these strategic clients they're going after, and like, they want your $1 billion and they're going to come at you with it. So I spent some time with them, and they were super cool, and they were interested in having people that can like serve mid-market customers with Chronicle for Google. They don't really have Google Chronicle partners to speak of today. And so I was like, let's dig into that and see what the tool is all about. And, so hopefully this is useful to those of you who aren't as blessed as Brian Quick used to be to get the attention of every vendor who's out there. So I got the demo set up, but first I want to talk about what Chronicle is. And they talk a lot about their artificial intelligence in there, and I got confused around what they meant by that. And as an artificial intelligence guy, I was really confused at first. And once we got to it made sense.
And by the way, this is one of our collective pet peeves, I think, is everybody says that they have artificial intelligence in their platform, and yet when I think about actual artificial intelligence, I will grudgingly admit that I do think Google, maybe they've got a little bit of strength.
And they really do. They really do have artificial intelligence in here, but it's not at all what I thought they were using it for. And that's where I think a lot of people might, this might be useful. So I'm just going to share a little bit of their product documentation, and kind of maybe that'll help us get oriented on it. So can you see my screen okay?
I just popped it up.
Awesome. So the real thing that they're talking about is, kind of a next generation SIEM. And there's a couple pieces built into it that I think is pretty interesting. And their website's a little confusing here, because they talk about products. I think that should be like product. It doesn't seem to be a whole lot more than one specific thing.
Well, I think part of what's going on there, Chronicle was an acquisition and was a larger company that includes VirusTotal. I think that's the backstory.
Yeah, that could be, but it's not like when you dig into it that they have a whole catalog of products that you're going to get. So all this stuff we talk about, you're going to see in the demo that I show you. So there are kind of like three main points to what they look at. The biggest one is handling all your security telemetry in seconds. And I'll show you, like, we're going to do a 1.2 petabyte search for an IP address, and you'll see how fast it comes back. And so that's the biggest, like one of the biggest things is for threat detection and threat hunting, is that we can complete multi-petabyte searches in seconds. And then there's some other things that we can do with it, but that's kind of the claim to fame. And the way the pricing model works on it is, and there's a couple different ways, but generally it is based on like a per user price, and it's kind of unlimited data ingest from unlimited assets.
What do you mean by per security analyst, per person in your company?
Yeah, like more like per person in your company. And I'll be honest, I got the feeling that they're still kind of figuring that out a little bit. And they have like some fixed fee options, but whereas a lot of SIEMs charge based on like the number of gigs that you're ingesting, Chronicle does not do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Chronicle is kind of an unlimited data ingest, and they're really incentivizing people to like put in logs from all the sources that you can get, and then we'll index that and you can search it super duper fast. And so this is the unlimited scale out. Now I've only got like the demos 1.2 petabytes, but they claim like 4 petabytes plus as kind of their unlimited. For every customer I've really ever worked with, 4 petabytes is the equivalent of unlimited logs.
I mean, if you're talking about security logs, which are individually are tiny little pieces of data,
it's just metadata.
Yeah, we're not storing graphics or video or anything.
Yep. And then kind of unlimited performance. They manage all the compute, all the storage, everything behind it, so you don't have to deal with that at all. It's SaaS. But this is really where kind of their machine learning and artificial intelligence comes in. And this is the part I kind of really fell in love with, because at first I was like, that's cool that I can search logs that fast, but honestly, I could just do that myself in BigQuery with some things. This is like, for me, the secret sauce piece of things is Chronicle does an amazing job of taking like a hodgepodge of different formats of data. So like my extra hop logs and my AWS logs and my Active Directory logs, plus just like a raw dump of NetFlow data, plus like stuff out of Wazoo from host telemetry or OS query. And without building rules, it will normalize that data into a single data structure and do, like their machine identity here, like identify the hosts and the users and like cross correlate that from all the different types of log structures that are there. And so for me, that's where the artificial intelligence came in. I was thinking artificial intelligence like in threat detection, like, I could like get rid of humans in a SOC. And that's not what they were driving with the artificial intelligence. It was all about taking the diverse, like disparate data sets of all the log sources and virus total definitions and IOCs and like normalizing that all into one data structure that you can query super, super duper fast.
Well, I will say from experience, that's not a bad place to have artificial intelligence. In previous life where we had a big SIEM and we fed, billions of logs into it on a regular basis, it's the normalizing of logs and getting, that plumbing in place to get all the logs you have normalized into the right format so that they can be read and sense can be made out of them, and sort of map this field to this other field. Like that's a lot of the engineering work.
It is, and like get it into a single like query structure that we can run. And then when we do run that query structure against the single data architecture, that it happens super fast. Now, because I'm a nerd, I had to kind of go like, but what if, Brian? So at this point, like if I'm in, client shoes, I'm really interested in it because from a cost perspective, like no offense to other products, but this was like 10% of the cost of if I mocked the same thing up in other commercial tools. So I was really impressed with that cost-wise. I was also able to get access to a new function that Google's putting out that they call Uppercase, and integrate some automated scripting from their GitHub repository of their IOCs that they release directly into Chronicle. And so now that takes like some automated, threat detection with the like massive scale, super fast, threat hunting inside of the logs. And for me, that's where it got super, super yummy. So I'm going to show you the little demo piece now. And just like we normally do with Google,
Aaron has joined.
The interface is super underwhelming. Like, you really have to appreciate the technology behind it. Otherwise, you're just going to be like,
what else does this look like?
It looks like a freaking Google search engine. So I was like, like, because most of I think, like, for me, a lot of the vendors are like, look how sizzly our graphics are, right? And it's like, look at this world map, and like we got laser beams shooting across the whole thing. And then you like get into it and you're
seriously, like, where are the pew pew maps?
Pew pew. Like, and then you get in like with other vendors a little bit, and I don't want to bag on them too much. There's some good products out there. It's like, well, to get that, you just need 7 engineers and 8 months of onboarding to make the pew 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 work. And this is kind of like understated, but kind of, obviously somebody dumb like me can set it up. It's pretty good. So you can see here, so we've got like bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. So I have 1.2 petabytes of data ingested here. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Or did I do my math?
Yeah, I can't picture what a petabyte is, but yeah, sure.
It's similar to all of the money you have in your bank account.
Right.
So let's do a search on this bad boy. You ready for it?
Yeah, ready.
It's done. So when this comes back, the search is done. And so now I can like click into this mammer jammer, and we can see a few different things. There's like a lot of taxonomy that I don't have set up in here that we could configure. But good old Thomas Barnhill's laptop, we're able to find, and correlate his logs. Now, a lot of this is network data that I'm pulling in, and look at what kind of activity's been happening. We can expand the time frame of what we're searching. We can configure different namespaces that we're gonna put those assets in. So like if I have overlapping IP spaces or things like that, I can do tagging for that. But we're also able to pull in, a lot of different types of logs. This is all junk from Extra Hop. But I really like that, that we can search it super quickly. And the way that, like, as Google always does, this complete thing is API addressable. So we can automatically feed input into that search function and have this pop back, or just have the data pop back out of an API into a different type of tool or different type of visualization. But they do pretty awesome anomaly detection in this bubble graph here. And so I'll try to find a couple examples for you, but we can really get into finding like the prevalence of outliers. But I'm going to show you some of the dashboards that they have that are kind of cool with it. So as like a SOC guy, is your skepticism increasing or decreasing?
So I love the scale. What's going to be interesting to me is, I don't know. I'll answer your question first, which is, I don't know if it's increasing or decreasing. I like it's decreasing because I really like that scale. I've seen queries go significantly slower than that in other kinds of platforms. The part that's interesting that I don't see, another big part of SOC is sort of, there are human beings and there are sort of right click kind of actions typically of like, this is bad, go do, pick one of these 10 things to go do about that thing that just happened. And so that'll be a part I'd wonder about, whether that thing is, go quarantine that computer and take it off the network, or, go, open a ticket.
Yeah. So like what remediation actions should you take?
Remediation or, documentation actions or those
Yeah,
sort of things.
I would say that's probably like maybe a gap area is, I haven't found yet. And again, I'll spend more time on this and maybe we can do an update, but it doesn't seem to pivot like directly to go do this thing to remediate it.
Yeah.
It's very much about like hunting the rules and through massive amounts of data and managing the data pipelines of, what that network looks like and all the ingest sources and how many records we're pulling in and from where. But it's not so much the the workflow management after you've detected that, I think is probably what you're getting towards.
Right.
Of like, how do you, kind of like turn that into a case and assign somebody to it and investigate and that kind of stuff, which is why I think they've spent maybe a lot of time on, the API integration with other tools that kind of have more of the workflow pieces to it.
Right.
But if we're worried about like catching events quickly, this is the best, like as far as performance, this is the best tool that I've ever seen to do that. So we do have some generalized dashboards that we can configure and individuals have them. And we can import like this, I have a few different like log sources set up that we can pull in. So we can, do web proxies. We can pull cloud, logs from all of the clouds. We can pull directly from your audit trail inside of GCP. We can pull, from your EDR solutions, from info blocks for DHCP. So that's really the claim to fame is like, let us take all these logs sources, simplify it, get, don't
dump all that stuff in there. Yeah.
Yep. And then like maybe they'll have additional workflow pieces to it that come in the future, but I haven't seen a lot of great stuff there yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can build lots of custom rules in here, but I think for me the biggest piece is just importing Google's own IOCs as quickly as possible, and then using new IOCs that come in to go search that data super quickly and then triage that list. And I've got some examples here. Obviously, it's hard to generate this much data to kind of prove the point, but you do get some pretty decent asset-based, information that's in here, and you're able to walk through the prevalence of activities and IOCs and signatures that were found, and find the standouts really, really quickly by. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that one. Well, this will be a good example, and it'll show you like where they stand out in that bubble graph for that asset, and then you're able to really drill in and look at what were the signatures that were found, the virus total definitions that were hit, and you can click out all these definitions and get some pretty solid data on it. And I think, the more like as the pace increases, especially with 0-day attacks, our ability to search logs super quickly is like the need for that grows. I see lots of clients kind of skimping on the amount of logs that they collect.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, if we add every, PC doing host telemetry, that's going to increase our cost by blah, 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 because, we have to include all that. Or don't dump NetFlow data as a log source or telemetry into it, because that's going to cost us another $100K.
That's when I've seen, my experiences, I've seen a lot of companies go through the whole, like, how can we afford to ingest all this stuff when solutions are ingest price? I've seen a lot of people like going to the level of, that's a very common thing of like NetFlow. There's no way, like
it's just getting too expensive that way.
Correct.
And then even if you do ingest that much data, like, you can do a search overnight,
right?
And then like maybe you'll find something, but it's going to crush all your hardware that you have on-prem. So being able to do that and not worry about like the tax you pay for how many searches you run, I think solves another problem for us.
Yeah.
And then being able to do it, by automatically importing IOCs directly from Google in their global namespace of threats that they've detected and responded to. Their IOC signatures that we're able to pull in, especially if we automate it, and I can show people how to automate that sometime.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically unlimited ingest, and yep. Another thing I've seen in SOC SIEMs, a lot of things people roll off logs at a certain point to, again, just, cost of storage and even cost of querying, yep. to keep those query data sets.
Because you pay like a time cost for all that data that you have.
But people either tier or roll off logs after 90 or 180 days. And I've seen that, forget about the query, which could take hours to run, but it's when you do have to go back, 90 days plus, 6 months, a year ago to answer a question of, hey, did this happen? This thing that is an IOC now, but happened a year ago. I've seen
happen to us?
I've seen the cases where you have to reload the data, which takes X amount of time.
If you even have it still.
If you even have it. Whereas this, correct me if I'm wrong, like an IOC could trigger on something that happened a year ago, basically.
3 years ago. Wow. Yeah. And there are some aging rules that you can configure in it. And I'm sure that as Google scales this out, they'll have more defined parameters around that. But that's pretty powerful. So we take away the calculus of should I monitor this logging or not, and the answer with Chronicle, the answer is yes, you should log it. Don't worry about any increased costs. Don't worry about a penalty you're going to pay on the search front. That you can kind of solve the retention piece and have massive scale search in the past. That you can have access to not just the virus total pieces of it, but when you get into their actual how they, get threat intelligence, they have 80 different sources that they use, including they have people that work with the NSA proactively to create threat intelligence. You get to be the benefactor of that. And then we can also automate custom IOCs that get imported as well. And so if you're a shop that doesn't have engineers that are going to be doing this piece of it, and you're just kind of if it's good enough for Google, it's good enough for me too. It's a pretty low touch way. And then the last thing for me is I think, being able to correlate all those different log sources without having somebody that's a deep pro in the taxonomy of NetFlow or SFlow and how that needs to be mapped into syslogging out of Windows. Right, to have all that maintained for you is going to save a ton of time. And then I know I said that last one was my last thing, but this is really my last thing that I like about it.
I'll give you two more.
It's starting to minimize the amount of eyes on glass. And I do a fair amount of automated penetration testing on stuff, and you'll have to forgive me because I know you were an eyes on glass dude. People almost never find the crap that I do. And limited visibility because of reduced logging, because of lack of performance in the search capabilities, but also I think the amount of telemetry data is getting to the point that peeps can't respond to that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And we have to have a really solid automated way of doing that, and this is probably the best by far.
And I will agree and disagree with you. I'll agree that it seems pretty clear we need the automation of data reduction. We need help with that, and we need to get it down to. I'm still skeptical. If anybody can do it, I'll again grudgingly say Google might be able to pull that off. What's bad, and bring it to my attention. The piece where it'll be interesting to me how it works out is I think still there's a place for humans to say,
I think so.
Now what?
Once it's been brought to the top,
right? Yeah.
Right, and somebody needs to act upon it. I agree. When it is the like hunt through this like haystack of data or write the correct script for that, print nightmare that came out, I don't know. I would say maybe you in your formal role have the chops to do that. I would say there's probably 13 million other companies out there that don't, and they need something that just happens for them. And this is, I'm a fan of that. So
yeah, and it's there. I would think that there's a big opportunity for a product like this in that space, which also kind of gets back to, it's interesting. You would think that this is a great approach for mid-market, and
I think so.
You'll wonder how long it'll take them to figure out how to bring that to.
Google's already made it clear that they don't really like have a traditional sales process for mid-market in their other products too. I'm still curious whether they will around this, or it's something that you're going to have to use a partner for.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, interesting.
That's my spiel, man.
Well, that was fun. I enjoyed it. Hope everybody else did too. And I definitely have been interested to find out more about this wacky thing called Google Chronicle. So,
well, I'm thinking maybe we do like cloud governance, cloud security, posture monitoring and management next week or something. You always do a good job releasing that, but that sounds like a fun topic. We should go through it.
That does sound good. I may have a really interesting wild card, but
I know what you're talking about.
And it involves cryptocurrency, which is all the rage with the kids.
This is a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so cool. That'll be next week. Good talking to you.
Go ride your bike.
Yeah.